The first time I heard the Alien Empress speak, the entire chamber went silent, not because of fear, but because reality itself seemed to pause and listen. I stood at the center of the celestial concord, a floating council hall suspended above the glowing world of Zithra Prime. Vast energy streams flowed beneath transparent floors, and colossal holograms of alien representatives shimmered in the air. Thousands of civilizations were watching, connected through quantum relays. I was the only human in a gathering that governed half the galaxy. I hadn't come here by choice. Earth had been discovered only 7 years earlier, primitive, fragile, and politically fractured. When the Galactic Dominion arrived, they did not invade. They evaluated. They observed. And finally, they summoned. I was a linguist and xenodiplomat, selected because I had survived first contact without screaming, attacking, or fainting. My job was simple in theory: speak for Earth, negotiate survival, and ensure humanity wasn't erased or enslaved by powers far beyond us. But no one warned me about her. The Empress of the Astrix Dominion sat upon a throne forged from living star metal. She was tall, radiant, and impossibly composed, her skin glowing faintly like moonlight over silver oceans. Her eyes, golden and endless, held the weight of centuries. Empress Calith Vera. She ruled over thousands of systems. Fleets obeyed her thoughts. Worlds reshaped themselves to her will. Entire species bowed when her name was spoken. And now she was looking directly at me. "Human emissary," she said, her voice echoing through every channel at once. "Step forward." My legs moved before my mind caught up. I stood alone beneath her gaze, painfully aware that trillions were listening. "You come to plead for your species," she continued calmly. "You fear extinction. You fear irrelevance." "Yes," I said honestly, "but we also offer cooperation, knowledge, growth, a future together." A murmur rippled through the council. The Empress tilted her head slightly, studying me as one might examine a rare anomaly. "You misunderstand," she said. The chamber darkened. Stars behind her throne burned brighter. "I did not summon you to discuss treaties." My heart pounded. "I summoned you," she said, rising slowly from her throne, "because I have already chosen." The silence became absolute. "I demand a marriage," the Empress declared. "And through it, a shared future between my empire and your people." The galaxy erupted into chaos. Middle, a choice no one expected. The council hall descended into uproar. Delegates shouted in languages that cracked air and bent gravity. Some threatened war. Others demanded explanations. Ancient alliances trembled on the edge of collapse. I stood frozen. "Marriage? To her? This is unacceptable," roared a reptilian warlord. "The Empress cannot bind herself to a primitive species." Calith raised a single hand. Silence fell instantly. "I have ruled for 612 cycles," she said. "I have seen empires rise and rot. I have mastered war, diplomacy, science, and power. But stagnation is the true death of civilizations." Her gaze returned to me. "Humanity is young, flawed, emotional. Yet you adapt faster than any species I have encountered. You choose hope even when logic predicts failure." I swallowed hard. "You observed us?" I asked quietly. "I observed you," she corrected. My breath caught. She stepped down from her throne, descending the light-formed stairs until she stood only meters away. "When your world first realized it was not alone," she said, "your leaders panicked. Your armies prepared. But you volunteered. You stood before beings who could erase your planet," she continued, "and you spoke not of surrender, but of coexistence." Her voice softened. "That courage is rare." The council demanded time. Earth demanded consultation. The Dominion's high houses protested fiercely. Some called it manipulation. Others called it destiny. I was escorted to private chambers, luxurious beyond imagination, yet feeling more like a gilded prison. Days passed. Caliph visited me without guards, without ceremony. She asked questions, not about politics, but about humanity. Music. Stories. Love. Your species forms bonds based on choice, she said once. Not duty. Not genetic compulsion. Yes, I replied. Marriage is supposed to be mutual. She studied me carefully. Then tell me, she said, do you fear me? I thought of her fleets, her power, her command over stars. Yes, I admitted, but not as much as I fear a future decided without us. She nodded slowly. Good, she said. Fear without honesty is useless. As weeks passed, something unexpected happened. She listened. She laughed, softly, when I told her about Earth's ridiculous holidays and irrational traditions. She shared stories of her childhood, raised to rule from birth, never allowed weakness, never allowed choice. This empire was built on control, she confessed one night, gazing out at a nebula. But control cannot create loyalty. Only obedience. And you want something more, I said. I want a future that grows, she replied. Not one that merely endures. The council reconvened. The galaxy demanded my answer. If I accepted, Earth would gain protection, influence, and a voice in galactic affairs. Humanity would leap centuries ahead overnight. If I refused, Earth might survive, or it might vanish quietly, forgotten among the stars. But this was no longer just politics. It was personal. Ending. A future spoken aloud. I stood once more before the celestial concord. Empress Caliph sat upon her throne, composed yet visibly tense. For the first time since meeting her, she looked uncertain. The weight of worlds pressed upon me. I thought of Earth, its chaos, its beauty, its stubborn refusal to give up. I thought of Caliph, alone at the peak of absolute power, yearning for something real. This union, I said, my voice carrying through the chamber, cannot be a conquest disguised as tradition. A ripple of surprise followed. It cannot be forced, I continued. Not on me, not on my species. If we are to share a future, it must begin with consent, on both sides. The Empress stood slowly. Her golden eyes never left mine. You would refuse me? She asked quietly. I would refuse control, I answered. But not possibility. The chamber held its breath. I stepped forward. I will stand with you, I said. Not as a subject, not as a symbol, but as a partner, equal in voice, unequal only in experience. Gasps echoed across the hall. Caliph descended from her throne again, stopping inches from me. For 6 centuries, she said softly, no one has ever spoken to me without fear until now. She raised her hand, hesitating for the first time in her reign. Then hear my vow, the Alien Empress declared. I will not bind you with chains of law or force. I will not claim your world as territory. I will stand beside you, not above you. She placed her hand over her heart, a sacred astrix gesture. I demand not obedience, she said, voice steady. I demand a shared tomorrow. I took a breath and mirrored the gesture. Then I accept, I said. Not as a representative alone, but as a human choosing the future. The concord erupted, not in outrage, but awe. The marriage was not celebrated with conquest, but with unity. Not as a symbol of domination, but as a bridge between civilizations. Years later, Earth stood transformed, not ruled. but respected. Humanity joined the stars without losing itself. And as for the Empress, she learned something no empire had ever taught her. That power could command galaxies, but only choice could create a future worth ruling. And so the Alien Empress spoke, not with authority alone, but with hope. And the galaxy listened.